I am in China, and unlike many of the Chinese haters on the social media platforms, I am not paid by anyone. I wander around inside China here in Beijing with amazement and raise the question why, after all the years of wealth creation in the West, does it not look like and work like what I see going on in China? I'm walking around a very nice peaceful park this morning, and I think inside that very sentence is the answer to my question. The word peaceful. China has risen to superpower status and taken 800 million of its people out of poverty and built infrastructure, manufacturing and healthy, safe communities, much to the silent envy of the world. And they have done it without war, conflict. And I walk around and I say constantly, wow, this is a nice place, Beijing, China. Meanwhile, my mate back in my hometown sends me a picture of a main street in Glasgow. And I'm left asking, when I look at the picture, why? And maybe it's something to do with firing $100,000 missiles into a mountainside in Afghanistan or whatever. Time after time, over and over, year after year, firing the same missiles into the same mountainside. Instead of, investing in your people. Yeah. So this is a very peaceful, beautiful park. It is my local park. I walk here often, and after a week of extreme cold weather here in Beijing, minus 10, minus 15 degrees, even minus 20 with the wind chill factor, it is now finally warming up, and people from the community are back out walking around the park, as you can see, and doing other activities like singing, dancing and exercising. There was a guy over there upside down, man. Unbelievable. All very normal here, safe, clean, all very calm. But from here, where I am, here, Beijing, China, I look back into the UK and it feels like the UK has lost the plot. Full of poverty and protesters, as my mate called it. He's correct. Just yesterday, we had... Ni hao. Ni hao. Just yesterday, we had farming tractors blocking the roads in London in protest. A protest about exemption in inheritance tax for farmers, and it looks like to me, if you look at the finer detail, that it is a protest that has been hijacked by the millionaire landowners who are masquerading as farmers to avoid paying inheritance tax. And you can tell that because it was headed up by a guy called Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is a very slippery guy with a very dubious background, but he heads up the British Reform Party, which isn't even a political party as such. It is masquerading as a political party. It operates as a company, and the leader of the company, or the owner of the company, is Nigel Farage, and the chairman is a guy called Zaya Yusuf, who's from my hometown in Glasgow, who calls himself a British Muslim patriot. It has a lot of very vague policies, the party, and if you can even call them a political party, call them policies. It's all rather odd if you ask me. However, the Reform Party is winning a lot of support in the UK, and it will soon be the leading party, political party, believe it or not, in the UK. And that could put Nigel Farage in Westminster as the Prime Minister. And that, for me, should send alarm bells to the UK population. But it won't, because he, Nigel Farage, the millionaire, the Reform Party, gets a lot of positive air coverage in the UK national media. The national media, incidentally, that is owned by a handful of millionaires. Get the connections. As I said, all rather odd. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, I can understand why they are gaining ground and will surpass the Labour Party, because Labour have been shambolic in the leadership of the country so far, and in fact have alienated much of the population by some of their ridiculous policies that have harmed the weaker in society. Again, comparing that to China, who do the opposite. China looks after the weaker in society, and you can see that when you walk around. And that is why I'm asking that same question often. Why here in China? Why not back in the UK or the West? And I have to ask myself though, and I think many people are asking the same question, does it matter what political party is running the country these days? To sum up the stupidity of how the UK has been run, no matter the governing party. And what I can explain is the rise of the Reform Party, because people are getting fed up. I will present to you this astonishing fact. The new Labour government has changed the border security bill, and as a part of that, the government is repealing what's called the Safety at Rwanda Act. This was an act that was passed by the British House of Parliament despite being deemed illegal by the Supreme Court in the UK, and the act basically stated that Rwanda was a safe country to deport illegal immigrants to. Now that act is repealed, so no longer can Britain send its illegal immigrants to Rwanda. And in my opinion, it was an inhumane law, and people should be treated with more dignity. And also, maybe don't fire $100,000 missiles into people's homeland to cause them to flee and become migrants, asylum seekers anyway. Just a thought. But here is the interesting facts for you about the whole Rwanda Act. Britain failed to deport to Rwanda a single immigrant asylum seeker against their will. And here's the kicker for you. The total cost of the whole escapade to the British taxpayer was £715 million. That is one big chunk of money, if you ask me, that could have been spent in a better way. £715 million. And people think only America has big problems with the mismanagement of the taxpayers' money and the mismanagement on an industrial scale. The world at the moment is spinning faster on its axis these days, and I don't know if it is because I'm getting older and my days are going faster or what. But from what I see, what I used to be, or we used to experience, a month in politics when I was younger seems to be almost a daily occurrence. 1 month squashed into one day. Sometimes I envy the people that can put their head in the sand and just ignore what is going on in the picture, or the bigger picture. But I have always been kind of fascinated with geopolitics. It's like watching a real-time Game of Thrones episode play out real live. And I'm still trying to work out if we might have our very own Aerys Targaryen now installed in the West as the king stroke president guy, or if we have a Robert Baratheon. I don't know if you follow Game of Thrones. I don't know if you can decide what one we have. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And in all honesty, I don't know where the world is heading. I do have to say though, I am not enjoying this real life Game of Thrones as much as I enjoyed the TV show Game of Thrones. Anyway, we'll continue walking. Peace out. Amazing. Oh, and by the way, China doesn't need people like me to speak up for them. They do it by themselves through what they create and how they act. My voice, my point has always been about being anti-war and always prompting others to ask the question about the lack of people, community investment, infrastructure, so on in the West, despite the incredible wealth. Anyway, does it really matter? Does it really make a difference? Probably not, but does it mean I should, you should, we should not try encourage peace? Me, Beijing, take care of yourself. Peace out.